Okay, I'd like to start the regular council meeting, North St. Paul Council meeting. I'd like to call it to order, Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary, if you could take roll.
Councilmember Thorson?
Here.
Councilmember Peterson?
Here.
Councilmember Walsack?
Here.
Councilmember Sonic?
Here.
Mayor Furlan?
Here. Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved, Your Honor.
So moved by Councilmember Walczak, second by Councilmember Sonic. Any other discussion? City Manager?
I would like to amend the consent agenda.
Yep, we can do that when
Okay,
we
very
get to that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. This time, I'll turn over to City Manager Dudek.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have a presentation that I think we will start out with Xcel Energy. And we have Jake Sedlacek here this evening to go over a project that's going to be impacting our community and probably several others. I know it's a large project that Xcel is undertaking, and it will be starting here this spring in North St. Paul. So, Jake.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager, and thank you for attempting the last name. That's always extra points when you have a last name like Sedlacek. My name is Jake Sedlacek. I office out of 3000 Maxwell Avenue in Newport, Minnesota. I'm your community relations representative for, it's called the Southeast Metro, but yes, here we are in North St. Paul. But I am the person that is here for you, any kind of questions you have related to your gas service here in town. And this is a significant gas project going on here in town. With me tonight, I have Conrad Miller, who is one of our gas engineers, and David Butler, who will be our project manager for the project I'm going to describe tonight. What we are doing this summer is the Northeast Metro Natural Gas Project. This is the common name we have for 3 separate phases worth of work. And I'll talk real briefly about it tonight. We've got more public input opportunities and more public communications things coming out as well. At its root, this is a system revitalization. The pipes that are in the ground today along Kearney Road B, South Avenue, are in good shape. However, they have come to the end of their useful life, and we've determined it's time to replace those. So we have 8 miles worth of high-pressure gas main, which we are replacing. It is a significant piece of pipe in this area. We'll be replacing it in place, which I have a slide to show you exactly what that means coming up next. And why we are doing this is that most people don't think about these gas pipelines in their town, and we want to keep it that way. What we are doing now will continue the safe and really undetected operation of this pipeline serving gas for the upper metro area. So hopefully you have a printout in front of you because this gets a little bit small, but the project area runs on Century Avenue from our Maplewood gas station there. That's kind of an orange line. Up Century to South Avenue, that's a greenish yellow line, and that runs to White Bear. And then from White Bear across all the way to Rice Street. So for this year, we're looking at doing phases 1 and 2, which are Century Avenue and South Lane. We will not be dealing with the western portion of this at this point. It's certainly enough for 1 season's worth of construction. And this, in part, was broken up this way with lots of feedback from staff. It's been a very collaborative process. There are 5 different cities impacted by this: Ramsey County Parks, and MnDOT. So there's been a lot of work going into the planning of this to make sure that how we set this up, how we do the construction, has the minimal impact upon residents. With that said, clearly there will be an impact upon residents. For a quick example of what the work will be, replacement in place means that we are digging a trench, or we're taking the old gas line out of service, we're digging a trench, putting the new welded pipe into the trench, and then removing the old one, restoring it back to the same condition or better than it is today. For pavement, this means we're meeting all compaction requirements. We've had lengthy discussions with your city staff, other city staff in Ramsey County about making sure that we meet those standards so that what we restore today holds up just as well as the roads as if the city was constructing a brand new road there today. We will see concrete work often comes into place, and when it's soft surface restoration, the grasses, things like that, we'll put it back the way it is. Unfortunately, you don't get to see the result of that till the next year. Our restoration will be in September, a perfect time to plant, but people don't see that nice full green lawn until about a full growing season has been done. Our anticipated project schedule. So we are here in early April. We are anticipating that construction equipment will be arriving in the area in May. You may actually see some activity. We've got a couple of staging sites identified, and we're going to start bringing in materials there as roads and weather will permit. So you may see some equipment moving into the area already, then being staged out in the areas. That would be Century Avenue and the east end of South Lane fairly soon. We still have yet to get a contractor, a specific contractor name on it, but we are anticipating construction start in May. It will start on the east and head towards the west, and that will involve road detours. Many times this gas main is right on the edge of where the curb is, so we're taking out a portion of a drive lane or a full shoulder, sometimes some of the boulevard too. There's just no way to safely do that, to have our equipment in there that's doing the digging, moving the pipes, and keeping regular traffic in. So what we've worked through with staff is traffic plans for basically detours that move as we move down the way. And then folks that need access to their homes, we're going to maintain that on a daily basis, too. And then for the end of the project, we're aiming at September. That gas line is fired up and ready for the cold season. If you remember this last one we're just recovering from, we want every single gas facility in our disposal ready to rock and roll as soon as we can. And then restoration happens. I touched on the fact that this has been a collaborative process, 5 cities, Ramsey County, the state of Minnesota, and I do have to compliment all of our local staff up here. We've had some very good meetings. They've flagged for us areas of concern, particularly in North St. Paul. We've got some electrical facilities underground which are very close to both the existing pipeline today and where we want to put pipelines, so that has been extremely helpful to have those good conversations up front about how we're going to either avoid or protect those facilities while we're in there working. Then other things too is just making sure that we're aware of community events, community sensitivities. It's not on this slide, but we've also been working with Met Transit, with the U.S. Postal Service to make sure the mail service is not disrupted. It's quite a bit of work that goes into getting us ready to put that first shovel in the ground. And your staff, again, with all the local staff up here, have been really very helpful on this process. I guess I kind of touched on the planning meetings there. And I'm kind of flying here. We will have opportunities for questions if you want to ask the technical experts here. I didn't make them dress up for nothing. We do have a website that is live now. If you go to the page, which is just on the next page, you'll see on there we've got project overview, the schedule. They can tap on that and they'll see where we're at in it. The outreach efforts, people can sign up for an email list to make sure that they're in the loop on it. Obviously, safety is always a concern, so we'll be posting, when detours are moving from week to week, we'll say, this is the block that is now detoured, here's your route around it. Because that is, honestly, one of the things we hear the most on these projects is when you get the pedestrians and bicyclists that have to disrupt their routes. It's a little more troublesome for them. They have to do a little more planning ahead than does someone in a car that can just easily go a couple blocks out of the way. So obviously the website is a key part of our communication. The email updates I mentioned, I believe we have that up already, that if you were to sign up for that email list, you'll get the regular updates as we make changes to the schedules. Project-specific email address and hotline, we found this to be very helpful in other projects. The detour signs, the door hangers, everything will have the same phone number, the same email address on it. So that goes into one person who makes sure that it gets sent back out to the right individual so we can follow up on it just as quickly as possible. We will have project manager visits. We go out specifically for the businesses and really anyone else that we can get a hold of someone. We'll be out knocking on doors, making sure they're aware of it. Direct mailings, we've identified the mailing list. I think the first mailing will go out very soon. I'm going to look to David really quick for our invite for the open house. If it's not, it's probably going on yet this week. So people will get their first mailing in relation to the Northeast Metro Gas project. And then, of course, Lori here at the city has already been very proactive about making sure she's got the most accurate information so that she can use your communication sources to help make sure that people are aware of what's going on. These are some contacts. I guess the biggest one to know is the website, which is a little bit long, but it makes sense. Xcel Energy, NE Metro Gas. Granted, don't memorize this now because I'm sure Lori's probably already got it up on your webpage, or we'll have it going out in newsletters too. But specifically, David Butler is the project manager. He's overseeing the day-to-day. He's working with the contractors, making sure that stuff is going the way it is supposed to be going. Ben Hawk is our gas project manager for the Century Avenue project. So that's more in MnDOT right-of-way, but we're impacting a couple of neighborhoods for North St. Paul there as well. And then myself, I'm an expert at nothing, but I know someone about just about everything. So I'm happy to be a resource to you. And then I almost forgot, because I didn't have the date when I sent these slides to Lori, but the open house is April 17th, 5:30 to 7:30 over at the Maplewood Community Center. We don't have a specific program, so anytime between 5:30 and 7:30, if someone wants to show up, if they got questions, concerns, want to make sure that, mail service is being taken care of properly, if they're aware of someone that has special transportation needs that we might not have registered, that's a fantastic time to get that information to us. Otherwise, we'll have big, full-size maps so we can go property by property if people want to find out more about the project or impacts. I fired through that pretty quick. You haven't gotten totally glazed eyes yet. If you have questions specific to the project, we would love to stand for those.
Any council member have any questions, or Jan?
I'm just, in looking at the map, it's hard to get the street names, but it looks like on 120 you're going all the way down to Stillwater Road.
That is correct, yes. We've got a gas plant there, if you recall. It's on the east side of the road. So that is where this new pipe is terminating at.
And then for us, it'll go all the way through on south and beyond North
Correct.
St. Paul?
Yes, we're going to White Bear Avenue in this year. So from Century Avenue all the way across to White Bear Avenue.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Jake, if you could talk a little bit about, this is more for our emergency response. So inevitably, especially with street projects, we always have a new gas main going in, things like that. We always have a main struck. It just happens. This is a lot different than residential services or anything like that. Maybe could you talk a little bit about an emergency response, what the status of this main is going to be, and some of those types of things.
I might look to just, either you want to field this, or? All right, well, let Conrad Miller, who is our gas engineer for this area, speak to it.
So again, for the record, Conrad Miller, manager, mayor. The existing pipeline operates at a fairly high pressure, operates at around 170 pounds of gas pressure. Before we even start construction, we're going to physically take it out of service, completely de-energize it, and purge it of all natural gas. So the actual existing facility will present no hazard to anybody. There is always other facilities that are in the ground, gas, electric, communications, that will work around just as anybody else would. So we would have those same protocols. We've also worked well with our bidding process to make sure that our contractors understand that we're going to have to maintain emergency egress in and out, even though we'll have hard closures for the blocks that we're doing major construction in, that there'll still be an ability to get emergency responders to any of the sites that are in there. It's part of what Jake was trying to refer to if we've got individuals that have special needs, we'll want to identify those so that we can take extra precautions to make sure that if there is an emergency or need to get in, that we can provide that.
thank you. So again, just kind of a follow-up for homeowners and that are viewing, so that this is more of a transport line than it is a service line. So when you're talking about this being taken out of service, residents are still going to maintain their gas service.
Mayor and Manager, yes, you're absolutely correct. This line serves as a bulk delivery system, and then there are regulators that take the pressure downstream for distribution to all of our customers. Our customers are not expected to be impacted throughout the process. However, because we have services, gas services that may go over or adjacent to the existing pipeline, we may end up having to terminate that service just for the day, and then we'll come back, put it back in service, relight the customer, put them back in service. Similar to what you're used to experiencing with the road reconstruction project.
Great, thank you.
The question I have is, the slide, it shows almost like you're tearing into the whole road, and then you're replacing the road?
So Mayor, one of the things that will happen with this is it's a 20-inch pipe. Today, the pipeline actually is a 30-inch, 24, and 20-inch pipe. We're going to replace it with a standard diameter 20-inch pipe. And we're doing that so that we can run integrated inspection tools through the pipe so that we can maintain it at a higher level of standard, which is required by federal code these days. So when we start digging a hole and try to get a pipe that's 4 feet of cover on top of that, you can imagine you've got a trench width that is 6 feet wide or better. The existing pipe, for the most part, is in the gutter line of the roadway. And so you expand a 6-foot trench over that gutter line, and then you still need room to operate equipment. So we'll take the whole road from a construction perspective, but we'll really damage just one lane of it. We're going to end up then replacing that roadway from edge to edge and then milling the second half so that when we walk away, it'll look all like a brand new roadway. And that's something that we're working with Ramsey County on right now. I don't know if that got to where you're going. So in the scenario that you see here, this happens to be in St. Paul where we replaced one. That's actually half of the roadway with a median in between.
So, I mean, we getting a new road? When they go down the road, we're literally getting a new road.
In a sense, it's going to be mill and overlaid, so the section that they're disturbing it with the open trench will be repaired, but then they'll do a mill and overlay over the balance of the portion.
You know, you're replacing with, the curb is gonna be cement? Or does that depend on
If it's cement there.
if it's cement already, or is it?
Mayor, the curbs throughout the project will be replaced in kind, and we'll meet any of the requirements for Ramsey County when we do that. But we'll actually do some improvements, so any of the crossings for pedestrians will all get upgraded to ADA compliant crossings. And so any of the curbs that aren't currently up to standards, those will be brought up to standards. There are some places along the project where there are no curbs. There are also parts that have asphalt curbs. Those would go back in kind, but I believe all of North St. Paul is concrete curbs.
And Mayor, just as a reminder, that as he mentioned, that south is a county road, so even though it's in North St. Paul and we work jointly with all this, Ramsey County will be working with them closely with doing all the permit and right-of-way work because it is considered a county road.
The other question, so we have closures gonna be happening on Highway 36, and this is gonna be could be possibly another closure on Century Avenue? Do we have
Yes, so
do they kind of coordinate together, or are they?
at this point, we're not anticipating closure of Century Avenue. We will be in the shoulder there, but we'll be able to have two-way traffic. Just be, sectioned off and signed properly. So that will still have two-way traffic on it.
And the pipe is on the North St. Paul side and not on Washington County side? Or it's-
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
go ahead.
So is that the same that you're assuming then for south, that's wide enough that you'll still have two-way traffic on south? Or not as much?
Madam Councilmember, unfortunately not. There's just not enough roadway there and where we're at in relation to the roadway. By the time we get that trench dug, have our equipment sitting alongside of it, and then creating a safe workspace for our workers. It just wasn't gonna be conducive
Okay,
to keeping that two-way traffic, but that does, as Mr. Miller mentioned, still allow us to have ingress and egress for the folks on that particular block being impacted and to maintain public safety access.
okay, so, but will people be able to cross over? Like if they're going down Margaret Street and crossing South Avenue, will that be closed to crossing? Or will there be a way to keep that open as much as possible?
So council member, yes, the people will have access. What we intend to do is have a soft closure. What a soft closure means is that we'll have signs up saying road closed, open to local access. And so people will be able to get in over a larger span, and then likely over about a 2-block span would be a hard closure, which means we stop everybody from going in and out, with the exception that if there's an emergency, we would get people in and out, as well as any of the residents would have the ability to get in and out. As we approach an intersection, we'll manage it in multiple ways. Typically, what we'll do is half the roadway at a time and flag people across. If we can work with staff and it's a smaller roadway, we may shut her down just because it's the fastest way to get through with the least amount of impact to the neighborhoods.
Sure.
But when you get to a Margaret, when you get to Helen, or you get to a big one would be McKnight, we'll be doing strange hours, likely in a weekend, and just try and either stage it so that we get half the road at a time and detour people around it, or do a full closure. We've been having conversations with the county about what the best way to manage that is, and as we get the contractor on board, we're going to further define that. So back to your original question, especially major roadways, our intent would be to provide some sort of access so that they could get back and forth from one side of the construction to the other.
Okay,
Any other question? Go ahead.
That was kind of a follow-up question, and do you anticipate that we're gonna need to do anything for our normal construction hours that we have as a city? I mean, working, late evenings or weekends and things like that, because we currently have guidelines in place, ordinance in place for construction work hours.
City manager, we actually have put out general construction is to occur during the normal construction hours as identified for the city, with reduced hours on the weekend. And so that already has been expectation that's been set out. We did have some early conversations with staff about if we're into a special crossing like a McKnight, at that point, yes, we'd come in and ask for some special privileges to work different hours. I would not see us working overnight, but you could see us working and asking for a Sunday, Saturday for something like a McKnight Road.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Joe.
I guess I have a question for Scott. How has the fire department, and I guess the police, but the fire, I guess, is my first thought. Have they kind of come up with a plan of how they're gonna deal with this
Well-
for emergency purposes?
Yeah, and that was kind of why I asked the question of the main, the status of the main, because it has been something that we've been talking about and kind of preparing or planning for, just as with the street construction projects that we have going on, when there's new residential services going in, like I say, it just happens. We have gas mains that are struck, and we have a response for that, and so just to be prepared for this and as normal, and knowing that this main is going to be decommissioned before anything of this size will be started.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, and communication, I think, is the most important thing here, is to get out to our residents, not only the city side, but you guys, Excel. So, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you.
We're in communication and planning on it.
Evidently, there was a question on trash for Thursdays.
Yes, thank you. David Butler, thank you for having us today. We have been in contact with the local trash pickup companies, And we are planning to coordinate that as, depending on what area, we'll either assign a location and get those trash cans to a certain location for pickup. It's depending on, again, what part of the project and what neighborhoods it is impacted. So those are in plan. But I don't have a specific answer for exactly how it's going to impact particular houses at this time.
So how do you normally do it in other cities?
So in some cases, depending on, again, what kind of access, we'll have the contractor collect the trash cans and bring them to a certain location for the trash company to pick them up, and then we'll return those individual trash cans. That's likely what we'll do, something to that effect, either bring them back a block, and that's part of their contract, and that trash company would then change their route to hit those trash cans, and then we would return those trash cans to the proper owners.
Okay,
That's likely how it's going to work.
yeah.
Is this gonna be done like a segment at a time, or, I mean, are you not gonna like dig up the whole thing and then,
Yes.
is it gonna be done like segments so that one person in front of his house isn't gonna be torn up from May through September?
Correct, and it's a very good question, and currently the plan is to have about 3 crews, and they're gonna be staged, if you can imagine, a third and a third and a third.
Okay,
There'll be a crew on Century, there'll be 2 crews on South, and they're gonna work in this area, and they're gonna work together, tie in, and then another group will work to the station.
okay,
And they're roughly about 100 feet a day, 120 feet a day is the anticipated pace that each crew will be working.
wow, okay,
And then that includes cutting, removing, installing, and then backfilling. So it's going to be a small crew ahead, and they're going to be cutting, and then a crew removing, and then a crew backfilling. So it's going to be kind of a rolling.
okay.
And the community will kind of see, as that group is moving closer. And then we also will be reaching out in addition to the mailers, we'll be knocking on doors just to say, hey, we're still coming, we're gonna be here in approximately a week, any considerations and things.
Great, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
David, what's the depth of this main when you're going back in?
Our average depth to top of pipe is about 4 feet, and there's a few spots where we have to go under existing utilities, so it may be about 12 feet in some places, but average is about 6 feet to top, or 4 feet to top of pipe.
Okay. Reason I was asking, and this might get a little bit off subject, but we've had in the past on some of the location, starting up by South and Henry, where we've had in the past water services freezing. And the thought was because of that large diameter gas main running near or right over the top of those water services, that induces that freeze effect where other services don't. So I just wanted to bring that up, and if that's a potential issue, if there's insulation that's going between services and where we're crossing or we're close to that.
We do insulate typically 1 foot of sand around every outer portion of the pipe.
Yeah.
Conrad, I would venture to say we roughly run a 50-degree gas or 30. Could you answer that? Ground temperature.
Okay.
So
Great.
it, I guess, shouldn't increase the temperature or decrease the temperature.
Thank you.
So we can maybe correct some problems?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, at this time, we have the consent agenda, and that is March 19th, 2019 workshop meeting minutes, the March 19th, 2019 regular meeting minutes, the general accounts payable of $334,804.55. We have the special event permit for pub crawl on Saturday, April 27th, 2019. We have the application for a charitable gambling permit to conduct lawful gambling in the form of raffles by the North High School all-night senior party, parent booster club on April 27th, 2019 in downtown North St. Paul. And then this last one here, F, the annual renewal of Youth Service Bureau contract. City Manager Dudek has requested that we take that off and table that until we have a full contract as part of that. So at this time, need a motion to accept the consent agenda except for number F. Or if anybody else would like to poll anything,
So
or
moved, Your Honor.
or if anybody else would like to pull anything at this time, they can also do that. So a motion by Jan, second by Tom. Any other discussion? All this,
Just
go ahead.
one quick thing, Your Honor, just looking at the resolution for approving the pub crawl, it's incorrect in stating that it's to hold the Chase the Snowman 5K in the first paragraph. So that just would need to be corrected. I think it was probably carried over from the other one.
Correct.
Will be noted by Mary. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. This time the meeting's open to the public, and I've got two people. John Schmall. You've got a handful of things.
Mayor, Council, quickly, we've known, at least I've known since 2012, that there's supposed to be a 2020 CIP on Chisholm, Masabi, whatever area. So last meeting, I stopped Morgan and said, when are you going to start holding meetings on the 2020 CIP? And the response was, well, there seems to be some conflict that there might not be a 2020 CIP and that there'll be other streets that are in worse condition or something. So when will we know?
I know that's part of our schedule. We're going to be looking at that fairly soon here for all the future road constructions, because we might have to adjust the schedule.
Okay, well, I wouldn't be happy. I just want to let you know that. I've known about this since 2012, and that when you finally get to the point, it changes. Okay. Well, we'll see, is what you're saying. Okay. Second item was back in July of last year, the previous interim city manager had a statement that he made that the University of Hamlin University in his area was going to take on the fiber optic and come up with a solution. How's that going?
Turn that over to city manager.
There was a presentation that the class basically did a project based off the information that they had from the city. There were, can't remember, I think there was 6 different groups that did class projects and ideas. So we can gather that information and bring something back together to show what the class project came up with.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So it happened.
Yeah, there was a
wasn't
class.
any citizen input or anything like
No,
that.
it was a class project that was done at Hamlin for their capstone project. And so they basically took information from the city, and it was a I don't want to call it a hypothetical, but to some extent that, where they took all of our information and the group broke down into 6 different groups, and they came up with their proposal, if you will, what they would present to do with it. So we could bring that back and show that information, sure.
Okay, very good. And the last one was bulk pickup. I kind of smiled when it brought up the trash. Wait till this contractor ends up saying 6 mattresses. Wait, but on the other subject, today I'm out in the front and the pickup truck comes by with one of these big equipment trailers on the back of it, all full of household goods. What the heck?
Full of
From
what?
household goods.
Okay.
Sofas, mattresses, side tables, whatever. And I'm back and forth. I'm driving away and coming back. And so when I got in the car to come over here, all those things that were on that trailer, guess where they're sitting? On the boulevard. So anyway, wait until this NSP guy, who's the contractor, runs into our bulk pickup. You know, this is going, it's the first time I can say I've seen it, that it's been, we get imported bulk pickup into the city of North St. Paul. And if you don't know it, come talk to me. So anyway, for the future, thank you.
Do you have a, John, would you have an address for that location?
You can go on Chisholm, you can see.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, Ethan. Welcome.
Hi there, first timer here. I have a question. I know it's kind of been a touchy subject, so I've been told, but I'm here to ask about my alleyway. I'm on First Avenue, actually close to the gas pipeline that's going in. And the alley is junk, and I've been maintaining it for 7 years. My neighbors and I would like to have it paved, and I'm just wondering how we get to this point, how we fix this. I got the fire squad stuck in there this winter. I mean, I can't get, it's not a good situation. I guess that's my question for
Sure.
you guys.
And I'm going to refer it to the city manager.
So historically, how this has happened in the past, there's a petition process that would be taking up. So if you wanted to lead that process, you would take a petition, contact all of your neighbors, residents that front the alley, and then we've carried it through under that process. If we have a support from a majority of the property owners to bring that project forward, and then the way it's been done in the past, the cost of that alley improvement would then be assessed equally to the property owners.
Okay, that's perfect answer. That's, I guess, what I was looking for. One question I have, I've heard from other people that have had this done, that it won't get put through if you guys don't pave it the whole alley. So from Margaret to Helen. So there's only 3 people that use the alley. It's on the east side, you know, toward Margaret. The people in the middle of the block don't have garages back there, so they wouldn't want to be assessed, obviously, for the alley. So it only needs to go, you know, that far. Is that still, so if us 3 are in agreement, then we're good?
No, the alley would go all the way through. That's also historically what's done. We've never done an alley that only goes partially through. So this sound, you know, case by case, maybe this is something that we can look at and talk about and see what can be done to remedy it, because if there's only 3 houses that use it now and will potentially never use it,
Right,
on what can be done, because it's not only your access, but erosion and runoff and everything else that's a problem, to figure out a way to make it happen.
And then there's like 2 houses, or 2 or 3 that come in from Helen, but then everybody else has garages that either go to First or go to, you know.
Sure.
So I guess I will, is there a form?
I was going to say, is there a form that we have that,
I'll follow up with you and we can get something for you.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
go ahead, Tom.
City manager, are those assessments then, are they assessed in the same way that a road reconstruction project? Is it a percentage of the cost or per footage, or is it the full cost?
That was the full cost, and we haven't done a petitioned alley in quite some time, and so I'd have to want to look at our policies to make sure nothing's changed over the years, but that's historically how it's been done, that the full cost of the alley was assessed to the adjoining property owners. But then the city, and that was also for the fact when the alleys went through end to end, block to block, that then the city would take over maintenance as far as plowing and that. But on alleys that don't go all the way through, that's where we've not done that, because the plow and having a dead end has been an issue in the past.
Right, and I, you know, between me and my neighbor that's on South Avenue, you know, we take care of it. We have snow blowers and tractors, and that's fine. You know, it's just the matter of just getting it paved. And we're not looking for a handout, or we're fine with paying for it. We just want to get it figured out how we can
Yep,
get it taken
absolutely.
care
No, we can get together and go over it.
of. Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Ethan. We have no public hearings at this time. Turn it over to City Manager Dudek, city business action items and recommendations.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, as we were reviewing a little bit in the workshop prior to, we have James Monge here tonight with our city attorney's office to go over a update to our right-of-way ordinance regarding small cell wireless facilities. James?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the right-of-way ordinance amendments are being proposed because of a change that, to state law in 2017 that permits small wireless facilities to locate in the city's right-of-way. So this ordinance adds a small wireless facility permit and sets conditions on the location of small wireless facilities in the right-of-way. This ordinance, these changes also take into account 2018 FCC order, which put additional requirements on small wireless facilities located in the right-of-way. So we've made these changes to permit the city to carry out its obligations to allow small wireless facilities to locate in the right-of-way, but also place reasonable requirements on those small wireless facilities for aesthetic reasons and to protect the city and the right-of-way.
And again, this new technology is something that, you know, we would expect that, we don't have any application for it now. This is just, we're taking proactive action on putting an ordinance in place. There's a deadline behind this along with the Federal Communications Commission. So we're making sure that we're in place with that to regulate our right-of-ways as much as we can without being too prohibitive. And also don't have any expectation that there's going to be a flood request for this. You know, this is something that if it comes to North St. Paul would likely be in the downtown areas or heavily populated areas where there's a lot of activity, things like this. Some of this was done in Minneapolis with the Super Bowl previously around that area when they have, you know, literally thousands of people in large gatherings. So this just kind of is a proactive approach in setting us up, but this is changing technology that's coming, and we all utilize it.
So maybe just explain in layman's terms what small cell is and what the 5G is.
Yeah, so it's basically the next generation. So what you would see here with these antennas, if you will, they would be much closer together in a downtown setting. They'd be potentially located on light poles or other poles of that style. They're much lower to the ground than you would historically see. We've got cell towers now on our water towers, or antennas on our water towers, but this is going to be at much lower level, you know, 50 feet and below. And what happens is those are much closer together, so that data or that information is received by those antennas, and then that's transmitted to an antenna that would be, let's say, back on our water tower, and then that is long haul carried via a fiber optic network. So this just gets it down to a much closer opportunity for people's use on your handheld devices as everything is moving to wireless technology.
Any other questions for James? If not, we have a motion in front of us to, I believe, amend the ordinance, motion to amend an ordinance amending the North St. Paul City Code of Ordinances, Title 9, General Regulations, Chapter 94, Streets and Sidewalks. Is that the motion that we want? And that's what I kind of have here.
Right.
Okay.
So moved.
So moved by Councilmember Thorson,
Second.
second by Councilmember Sonic. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. City Manager Dudek.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Next item we have is the update to our fee schedule. If you recall, the last meeting, we had approved the contract with Minspect for our building inspection services. And so what this is it's an update, and for the most part, it's even more of a format change to our fee schedule. And that will be something that we'll be working on, continuing moving forward, even for the for a yearly update to better lay out the fee schedule so it's more easily followed and readable with the different projects. But so there's several pages in the fee schedule that are attached to your documents here. So everything that's in red are items that are being proposed to be taken out of the fee schedule, and the items that are in blue are the new items that are underlined that would be added or replaced into the fee schedule. And there, one thing I want to be clear on, that there's no fee increases. That's something that we've been very conscious of, and even in the past year, council, you've taken steps to reduce our building permit fees. So that's been a very positive with all of our developments, things going on to attract those things. So again, the items in here are more format changes, and also we found when working with the contract with MinSpec that there were several permit items that were just not in our fee schedule, that were fees that we would charge but were not officially listed in the fee schedule. So those items were added in here. The only change on an increase, if you will, on fee is the minimum fee on a building permit. And that did change just because with processing a permit and actually having an inspector going out to the site, what was previously in the fee schedule was $28.05 for a minimum fee of a project up to $500. And that did change to, I believe it was $80 as a minimum permit fee for those small projects. But otherwise, all the fees throughout the schedule remained the same, and this was formatting and making sure that all the items were included in our fee schedule.
Any questions for Scott? If not, the motion is to approve the updated building code permit and inspection fees and implement those into the 2019 municipal fee schedule as presented. I have a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Councilmember Sonic,
Second.
second by Councilmember Peterson. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
I had one,
Quick question from Jan.
Oh, he can go first. I think his hand went up first.
just wanted to follow up. I know we had discussed the possibility of eliminating the streetlight fee. Was there any discussion with, we had brought that topic up at the council retreat, and you had mentioned you were going to discuss that with Electric Superintendent Frano before any change was proposed, but was it? did you
Yeah,
have-
we have had brief conversation on it after that meeting, and it does generate a significant dollar amount throughout the area, so that would be something that we will take up in the upcoming budget process and talk about that, what the impact would mean if that was eliminated or if it's left in place. But that is noted for the upcoming budget process.
I just noticed there's kind of a typo on, it looks like page 106, under 110.01. It reads the licensee or permittee is required to have enforce a policy of insurance. The policy shall, and it ends there, and then there's number 2.
I'm sorry, what page was that?
106?
106.
What's the page number of the fee schedule?
There aren't page numbers. It's 110.01. Do you have page numbers on
Yeah, it
it?
says at the bottom of the page.
Okay, I'll check that, because obviously we will, these changes, the track changes will be taken out, so we'll make sure that we,
Okay, well, it's
Clean.
110.01.
.01.
And number 1 just sort of, it needs an ending.
Okay.
Okay. City Manager Dudek?
That's all I have for action items this evening. Oh, excuse me, I do not.
I was just
I'm
going to
sorry.
say, you
I'm
have,
sorry, I have one more. One more, I'm sorry. I was looking at our fee schedule. So, item C. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. So this is the ordinance update, rescinding ordinance number 778 to include the fees in the process for the small cell wireless facility that we approved earlier this evening.
Any other discussion or any questions for Scott or James on that? If not, motion to an ordinance adopting the 2019 revised municipal fee schedule and rescinding ordinance number 778 to include fees for cost to process small wireless facility applications and update building code fees. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Councilmember Sonic,
I'll second, Your Honor.
second by Councilmember Walzak. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. City Manager Dudek.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have on the city action items.
Yeah, why don't you go right ahead and do your reports if you would like.
Well, I'll save you some time from last meeting. I don't have quite as many, although the busyness continues, which is good. You've probably seen some of the activity going on across the street here from City Hall. We've started some of the items that we had approved at the last meeting. We're doing Phase 1, Phase 2 environmental work, along with soil borings on a couple of the development sites in preparation for that work to continue moving along. So those things are going well. And now that the snow is starting to leave us, the crews are able to get out and doing survey work and those environmental work and findings and soil borings. So going well.
Good.
And I will say that the activity and calls into the city has been very positive. We had a real positive news article in the Star Tribune last week, and that has generated a lot of calls and interest in the community.
And also heard on the radio too that we were mentioned from that article. So it's kind of a
It's
good
an
article.
exciting time and look forward to continuing that process.
Okay. Reports of council, Councilmember Sonic.
Just want to mention that we do have a planning commission meeting this Thursday, 6:15 in the council chambers, and we will have a public hearing related to the city ordinance enabling pawn shops and eliminating payday loans. So if anyone is interested in that conversation, we'd love to have you here at the planning commission meeting.
Thank you. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, for the planning commission, I did ask that put on, and there'll be discussion there, but I did ask the planning commission to consider holding 2 planning commission meetings per month for the upcoming summer months, just in anticipation of all the projects that we will have coming forward so that we can try to keep that moving along efficiently. So I did ask them to consider that.
Okay. Any word on the DHRC or?
Not at
Working
this
on it.
time, but we are working on
You're
that to
working
get that
on it.
re-engaged.
Okay. Tom, did you have anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay. Councilmember Walzak.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, I've got a few things, Your Honor. The egg hunt is looming. We're gonna have 10,000 eggs, so all you children, and come on out. We're gonna have to stuff them. That'll be April 20th, Saturday, from 10 to 11:30, and that'll be up at Casey Lake. I see one of our commissioners back there. I'm sure he's gonna load some eggs, aren't you? Yeah, Friday night, yes, down there at 6 o'clock. I'm excited about, another thing with the Explorer group, and I know the mayor gave it to me. We are partnering with the school district, the Polar Explorers, and we're gonna have several things in parks. June 11th, Forest Frolic will be at the Southwood Nature Center, and that's with our naturalist Kathy Trundle. Bike Clinic on June 25th at the Gateway Trail. Science and Slime, July 9th at Housie Park. Panada in the Parks, July 23rd. And Lego Amusement Park. And this is with Community Ed, 622. This was a very good partnership. It's not costing us any money. It's like when I grew up, they used to have the little carts in the parks, and you got to do these little things for free or very nominal fees. So this is going to be a very good thing for our youth this summer. And then I'm very excited about the citywide garage sale, which I kind of was excited about, and that, just to set the date, I know it's not my department, but May 16th, 17th, and 18th, and you don't have to do all 3 days, and it's free. So the other cities do it, and it's good time. I'm moving, so I'm very excited that I'll have some things to sell. So you can contact the city, and there'll be city sale maps through the city. So you can register through City Hall or online. So that's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Thorson.
I have nothing.
General business, Councilmember Sonic,
Nothing further, thanks.
Councilmember Walzak,
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember Peterson.
I just want to send out condolences to Jerry Bears, the owner of Polar Lounge. He lost both his parents on the same day within hours on March 28th. So just want
is that his folks?
yeah, I just want to send out, I know the city wants to, being a bar owner, and it's pretty sad, but I think the full obituary will be Thursday, and I think it's Monday at Sandburg, so, thank you.
Councilmember Thorson.
I have nothing.
City Manager Dudek.
I have one other update. I just wanted to let everyone know I forgot about this one. We did get a call today from M&I Homes, and we are having a pre-construction meeting next Wednesday. And they're ready to start their excavating and soil correction work, so we will be doing the pre-construction meeting on Wednesday of next week.
Oh, cool. And all I have is the fish fries are happening in North St. Paul, VFW, St. Peter's, and I'm sure there's a couple of other ones. Yeah, I believe the Legion has one also. City Works are filling the potholes. Scott, maybe you can mention, how do you, if you know that there's a lot of potholes in your neighborhood, do they just call City Hall, or how do they go on the
Please,
website?
Yeah, they can call City Hall, they can go on the website. We've got a section right on the front page of the website, report a problem, ask a question. There's a button on the bottom of the website. There's also a new app that you can put on your phone. Basically, that same section of there's a list of top used items that you can put on your app now. That information is available on the website, so you can download that app to your phone. But you can do it either way. You can either call or do it online.
Okay, thank you. Also got a little note today from City of Oakdale. They participate in the District 622 Stars Award banquet, and I don't think we have in the past, but I would like to maybe take that opportunity to possibly buy a table there at the Stars banquet to show our support in regards to the students at North High that get recommended for that. We haven't in the past, and it'd be kind of nice to reach out to that. I don't know if we need to approve that through the budget, or not sure if we can.
Cost, do we know what
I think it's $500 for a table.
the council would like to, if you want to do that? I mean, that, council members want to attend, or who would want to attend it, I guess?
Like a little discussion if anybody is,
I'm pretty familiar with it.
are you? You
Well,
wanna-
my parents, we give a scholarship to both North and Tartan. And I know we're the only town or the only city that's not involved. Maplewood's involved and North Oakdale, but I think because they have charitable gambling, and I think that's where that money comes, because I think I've asked Mayor Keene about this, and it was a discussion that, yes, we'd like to participate, but we don't have the gambling funds.
I know the City of Oakdale, their funds come out of the police department. That's where I saw it, that it came out of.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and then the other issue we have is council members attending, that we don't have a quorum at a meeting all at once, and so that issue, I mean, certainly if we could certainly look into it if there's a council member or two that would like to attend. Yeah.
Is that how Maplewood and Oakdale do it with their tables? Is it the council sits at the table?
they do have council members there at the table.
Well, so what, do we have to make some kind of an announcement or something?
We would just post it. It would be posted that council members may all be present at a function. There will be no official city business conducted.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I
But we can
believe it's
cover
in
that.
May, so we have time at the next council meeting, so we could bring it up at that time and
Sure.
maybe make a recommendation. Is that okay? Okay. That's all I have, and we have no closed sessions, so motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilmember Walzak, second by Councilmember Peterson, and the meeting is over. Oh, motion
At 7:31.
at 7:31. Thank you, Mary.